So this is crazy. The first matchups in tournament format for the Sao Paulo Lock tournament in February have been announced, with all 30 franchise teams and 2 Chinese teams in attendance to make it the largest LAN Valorant event yet. And to make it even crazier, we just found out that this is single elimination. AKA, if you have just one bad match, it can be all over. There'll be crazy upsets and honestly anyone could win, but I wanted to give my picks for this tournament. So it's broken into 2 groups of 16, each with 2 teams that will make it to the playoffs. In the group stages, it's best of 3, while in the playoffs, it's best of 5. This is going to be a little freeform as I talk about each matchup, but I'll try to keep it concise. Let's get into Group Alpha first. First, we got Koi versus NRG. When you first kind of are looking at this, you think maybe NRG is going to destroy Koi, but I think they're actually Koi's pretty good. They have Coldamentor, Shados, Trex, and Starzo. It's a pretty good team, but when you're looking at NRG, you got the core of Optic, as well as Artis and Som, 2 great players, so I'm going to pick them right now. Next, we move on to Detonation and Giants. This is a pretty good team. Overall, Detonation is a combination of a couple of different top Japanese teams, where they kind of pick the best talent. Then looking at Giants, it's Nukia and Hoodie. Those are both 2 G2 players who were definitely franchise players, but then once G2 didn't make it, they were kind of stuck without a team and Giants picked them up. This team isn't completely the best European team, but Hoodie and Nukia I think is already a great combo, and then Cloud is also a great player. This is kind of a toss-up a little bit, but I'm probably going to give it to Giants. Now on to Gen G and Loud. Yeah, Gen G is a Korean team with some really good players like Meteor, who was on Northampton, and King, who was on Onslayers. But of course, they're going up against Loud, a team that, while they lost Saucy and Pincata to Sentinels, this is still the World Championship team that we saw just in September. This is a great team, and I don't think that a team like Gen G, who has just gotten put together, will take down the likes of Loud. Okay, now we're up to our first Chinese team, which is FPX. This is not the old FPX, obviously. This is a completely new team facing off against Carmine Corps, the French team, who has Scream and Navera. Those are kind of the real 2 highlights for that team. I don't know too much about FPX, which is the Chinese team. I haven't really got to see these players play, but judging off of what we kind of got to see with Edward Gaming, we thought China was going to be a little bit better, but of course the scene hasn't gotten to grow a bunch. Just because of Scream and Navera, I'm going to give it to Carmine Corps. Okay, so next we have DRX and BBL, which is the Turkish team. And that region still hasn't gotten to really grow as much as other regions, and especially against a team like DRX, who is considered one of the, I think, top 3 teams in this tournament. I would have to give it to DRX knocking out BBL. Okay, next on to the most anticipated for me in the group is Cloud9 versus Paper Rex. So one of these teams are going to get eliminated right away. That's pretty crazy. That could mean a whole tournament without Ye or a whole tournament without Paper Rex. So that's gonna be crazy. But right now, Paper Rex is still the same team that they were last year. A team that could do big runs at Masters events. And Cloud9 is still new. They haven't gotten to play too much together as a team. I think this game's going to be really close, but I think Cloud9's going to get eliminated and Paper Rex will make it to a meeting with DRX. Okay, next on to EG and Team Heretics. Team Heretics has, of course, Mixwell, Zeke, Avova, and all these players are really great players up against a really solid Evil Geniuses North American team with BCJ, Ethan, Boostio, Com, Jugamo. I think this is another one where they're both around the same level as each other, but I think this will really show which region is more well-rounded, because these are both teams that are about the same level within their own regions, which is why I think right now EG kind of has it. I don't think Mixwell will be able to carry his team enough to be able to beat Evil Geniuses here. Okay, next on to MIBR and Talon's Esports. So Talon Esports is pretty much X10 from 2021, especially with Patifan back, taking over for Surf. As Xerxia, they never really got to do too much and were one of the teams always first eliminated in these Masters events, but they still made it to Masters events, which is harder to say than this Brazil team. Of course, Brazil, they're going to be having the crowd behind them. Everyone's going to be rooting for them, but I don't think that's going to really phase a team like Talon Esports. And I think with Petty Fan back, that leadership is just enough for Talons to survive their first match. Okay, now I want to go down to the Omega group. So Team Liquid and Team Secret. Team Secret has a lot of really good Asian players, but Team Liquid has been trying to build a super team, so I'm just gonna already, they got Yumpy, they got Nats, they got Redguard, like they get a lot of really great players, which then moves down to Nodus Vincere and Crew Esports. If you've forgotten, Nodus Vincere is just FPX, the old FPX team, but instead of Artis, who went to NRG, it's CNED. And I think that's really hard to compete against any team you're putting up against this team. Even Crew, who has a really solid team, they still have Claws and Nags together. Two players that really helped them last season make so many Masters events. And then Melzer and Zan. Two players that were on top tier teams. Zan was on Furia, I believe, and then Melzer was on Leviathans. This is a team that can compete in Masters events, but they're going to be going against Na'Vi, who every single one of them has won the championship. Like CNED won 2021 with Ascent, and of course the rest of this team won like the Masters event together as FPX. So yeah, Na'Vi's going to win this, make it to the next round. So here's a really fun matchup, Zeta Division and Leviathans. So this one's kind of fun because they've also both gotten to have their like underdog runs, especially in like smaller regions, as like Zeta Division's from Japan and they had that great run, finishing in third at Reykjavik, and then Leviathans had a great run at Copenhagen. But thinking about which team will really make it through here, I'd probably have to give it to Zeta just because they've been able to keep their whole team together. And I think this early in the season, that could be all the difference. I think they'll have it and eliminate Leviathans really early. Next on to Team Vitality and Global Esports. I think these teams are about the same, in my opinion. Global Esports has Aaron, who's from XSET, Wrongski, which is a Pacific player who really lit it up. I got to see him play a little bit. SK Rossi, against Team Vitality, who has Bone Cold and Mulsey and some really good European talent, but I don't think they were the best available. And Team Vitality right now is definitely on the lower end of the European League. And I just don't see this roster doing much. I think Global Esports can probably do a little bit more. Maybe it's just I've seen them play more, but Global Esports to me jumps out more. So I'm going to give it to them. Team Vitality going out in the first round. Okay, so FUT Esports and RQ. FUT is the other Turkish team, which is really cool. And then against this Indonesian team. There's been so much controversy with this team already at RQ. This one is a toss-up for me, but I'll probably give it to them. We move now on to 100 Thieves and Edward Gaming. Edward Gaming is the other Chinese League team that's going to be added onto this event. We get to see them in the Valorant Championship where they were eliminated pretty quickly. 100 Thieves, if you haven't seen my video on it, I kind of thought they were going to be really good. They've been really good. They've won an event so far. And I think Edward Gaming won't be able to really stop them in the opening round with them getting past them pretty easily. So on to the most anticipated match. This is crazy. Having Sentinels and fnatic fighting at the very beginning, one of them going out in the first round. And this is a toss-up. These are both like two of the best teams. Both teams were built to win championships, and one of them will have to go out now. And right now, I think fnatic is the more complete team, meaning that tenz, Saucy, Pincada, like Sentinels are going to go out in the first round. That's wild. So right now I have fnatic winning. So let's go down to the last of the opening rounds, T1 and Furia. If you didn't watch Ludwig and Tarek's Invitational, T1 didn't do that good. I already saw people saying like, oh, T1 needs to change their whole roster. I don't think it's necessarily that bad, but I don't think T1 is a team that has really known what to do with their pieces yet. And maybe they've made those changes, but Furia also is a team full of players that have been like the second best team in Brazil for a while now, right behind Loud. And I don't think that's going to change. I think Furia will be able to finally get one of their wins in a big LAN event. And I think it will be definitely against T1. So I have them getting past. So now let's get to the quarterfinals of both groups. NRG and Giants. I think this is pretty easy. I think NRG wins this. Giants is still a really good team, but NRG just has the experience, I believe, in the Optic core that they can get past a team like Giants. Next, Loud versus Carmine Core. Loud is the defending champs, and they'll be at home. And I don't think Carmine Core has the players all around to really be able to beat a team like Loud. They have two great players, but Loud has at least three. So I think just even that's enough to put Loud above. Okay, and here's a great matchup, DRX and Paper Rex. DRX and Paper Rex are the two franchise teams that haven't really changed at all. And with no changes, these teams are just building on their success last year, where both teams could have won Masters events and just fell short. So this is going to be a real big moment to see and who has improved from last year and who has adapted to the new meta the best. And I think DRX is usually better at that, which is why I'm going to put DRX. I think Paper X is a great team, but sometimes their compositions are hits and misses and they just fall flat against a really solid team like DRX. So now on to Evil Geniuses and Talons. This is pretty hard. I think they're about the same level. I could see either team really winning this. I'm probably going to go a little bit on NA bias here. I think Evil Geniuses should win. That's of course is I've probably seen them all play more than I've gotten to see the players from Talons play. I think I have to give it to Evil Geniuses right here. Okay, let's go down to the Omega group. So now we have Team Liquid and Na'Vi. This is going to be a really close game, but there's something about Na'Vi where the players that they assembled are just, if you're going to lose artists on this FPX team, there's only one player in Europe that was like the player to get, and it was CNET. Pretty much keeping your team at that championship level. And Team Liquid is like trying to put together that team, and probably in the league we'll see an even more complete team, but Na'Vi is already complete. And Team Liquid has the pieces, they just have to put it all together, and I don't think they'll do it early enough. So I think Na'Vi wins this. Okay, so Zeta Division and Global Esports. Zeta has the experience. They've gone far. They've beat like excellent teams. They beat Fnatic and stuff. And I think they can beat Global Esports. And this one's easy. I'm going to go 100 Thieves. I'm not even going to talk about it. And this. Fnatic and Furia. Of course, this is where an upset could happen. Furia and Fnatic. I could see Furia upsetting Fnatic and everyone be just shocked that Fnatic and Sentinels didn't even make it out of the first 2 rounds. But I'm going to have faith in this Fnatic team right now. I just think their firepower, even if they have an off day, is better than Furia. And especially after being Sentinels, that's just kind of a shame if they lose to Furia, even though Furia is a great team. So let's go to the semifinals. NRG and Loud. All these matches are going to get pretty close. This is hard, especially because I'm just imagining the crowd behind Loud. I think, though, NRG would win this. I really like their roster. I think that they can do really big things, but NRG has 5 great players, and right now I'm only confident in Loud's in 4 of their players, maybe just their 3 players from Loud right now, and I think that's just enough for NRG to win this. So now on to DRX and Evil Geniuses. I'm already kind of surprised Evil Geniuses would make it this far. That's a little bit surprising, but I think this is where it ends. If DRX is able to make it to this far, I don't think DRX would not qualify, so... Okay, so Na'Vi and Zeta. So it'd be really cool if Zeta actually won this, made it to the playoffs, and knocked out Na'Vi, but I don't see that happening. Na'Vi is just top 2, top 3 best teams right now. And then a great matchup, 100 Thieves and Fnatic. So these are 2 teams that I kind of had winning their leagues this year. And I think this is going to be a really good matchup for 100 Thieves to see kind of where they are at the season. But I don't think they're ready to beat Fnatic. Fnatic still is going to be marching forward, beating 100 Thieves, knocking 100 Thieves out in the semifinals. These are the final 4 teams. We have NRG and DRX. I think DRX will win. They should have won a Masters event already, and I think they'll be firing on all cylinders right when the season starts. So I think DRX will make it, making it to the finals of this event, and then Na'Vi and Fnatic. I have Na'Vi winning. I don't think Fnatic will win this, just because they always fall short here. It'd be really cool if they won against Na'Vi, but I think Na'Vi is just such a hard opponent, and I think this will be the top fight in the Europe League all season long. But right now, I think Na'Vi wins this. They just seem like a more complete team. So then in the finals, I have Na'Vi and DRX, and I have Na'Vi winning this. This team just has experience. We haven't really gotten to see them play that much, but DRX will push them to 5 maps. Each map will be really contested, but I think Na'Vi wins this. So that's kind of my pickems. I'm probably gonna just bomb out, but it's whatever. So here's my picks and everything.